Hey everyone, and welcome to my kitchen. In today's video we're going to be making this perfect Nigerian chicken stew. I'm going to show you how to make the perfect stew base, and I'm also going to be sharing lots of tips and tricks to get your stew perfect every time. To begin, we're going to go ahead and cook the chicken. I'll season the chicken with some chopped onions, salt, curry powder, dried thyme, garlic and ginger, and I'm going to add some chicken seasoning cubes. I'll give this a good mix. To get a very flavorful chicken, I'm not going to add any water at this time. I'll just cover this and allow to steam for about 10 minutes on low heat. I'll check on the chicken, add some water, and I'm going to cover this and allow to cook for another 10 to 15 minutes or until it's about 80% cooked. While the chicken is cooking, I'll go ahead and prepare the stew base, which is the pepper mix. For the pepper mix, I usually use about 50% bell peppers, 30% tomatoes, about 10% scotch bonnet peppers, and 10% onions. I'll explain the reason why I ration it that way as we get ahead. I'll go ahead and prep the peppers. If you're using the local tatashe, make sure you take out the seeds and the veins of the pepper because that can cause your stew to be bitter. And the reason I like adding bell peppers to my stew is simply because it gives it a really vibrant color and it also adds a perfect balance of sweetness to the dish. For the scotch bonnet peppers or atarido, I use about 10% because I like my stew a little spicy. Of course, you can use as much or as little as you prefer. Keep in mind that some of the scotch bonnet varieties can be super spicy, especially the ones abroad. So if you want to use more without getting your stew too spicy, you can remove the veins and the seeds. I'll go ahead and add all the ingredients to the blender. I usually like to add the tomatoes first because that has the most water quantity, so it can blend easily without me adding any water. You can also squash the tomatoes with your hands to get the liquid out. I'll go ahead and blend this until completely smooth and then set aside. The meat should be ready at this time, so I'm going to take it off heat and separate the meat from the stock. Return the pot back to heat and then add the blended pepper mix. I'll rinse the blender with water and also add that to the pot just so that nothing goes to waste. When the pepper mix is in the pot, avoid stirring or mixing because doing so might make it start to bubble out and splash. I'm going to cook this until it's reduced. It should take about 30 to 40 minutes. And it doesn't have to reduce all the way. It's okay if there's still some water left. I'll take this off the heat and set it aside. In a separate pot, I'm going to heat up some oil and fry the chicken. You can also air fry or grill as a healthier alternative, or simply leave the chicken as it is. I'll add half an onion to the oil because that really adds a lot of flavor to the chicken. I'll fry for a few minutes on medium heat until the chicken is golden brown before taking it out. I'll also take out the onion and I'm just going to throw that away. I'm also going to use this pot to make the stew, so I just reduced the oil before adding the boiled down pepper mix. I'll give this a quick mix and I'm just going to allow this fry for a few minutes. Season with the same seasoning I used for the meat, which is curry powder, thyme, and chicken seasoning cube. I'm not going to add any salt at this time because I'm also going to add the meat stock much later, so I don't want the stew to be too salty. I'm going to allow it fry for a few minutes on low heat. If the stew is splashing a lot, you can cover it, but make sure you don't cover it all the way. Check on it and stir from time to time so it doesn't burn. You will know the stew is well fried when the oil starts to come up. I'll add the chicken stock and give this a good mix. The stew is almost ready at this point, so I'm going to go ahead and add the chicken so it can start soaking up some of the juices. If you like really thick and chunky stews, you can leave it like this. I like my stew not as thick, so I went ahead and added a bit of water. You can also use chicken stock if you have that. I'm going to give this one final mix and then I'm going to let it simmer on low heat for a few minutes. Before that, taste and adjust the seasoning if needed. I added a bit of salt just so that it can elevate all the flavors. Before the stew gets ready, I always make sure that my rice is either already cooked or cooking. I'm using my favorite Sela long grain basmati rice for this, and I've shown it several times on my channel, so you can check that out if you'd like. Back to the stew. It's perfectly cooked at this time, smells really good, and tastes even better. The full recipe, ingredients and measurements will be in the description box, and you can also find more tips and more details on my blog at kikifoodies.com, so please check that out. I'll go ahead and serve this with the hot rice. The great thing about Nigerian stew is you can enjoy it in so many different ways: yam, plantain, pasta, potatoes, beans. The possibilities are endless. Let me know if you found this video helpful. If you have any questions about this recipe, feel free to leave me a comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.